remain in effect for drivers due to this giant collapsed street hole on Canal Street. It collapsed in front of Harrah's Casino recently when a tunnel under the road just gave way. A Mayor Landry says it could take up to 6 months and $5 million to repair the hole. But is this a problem we can expect to see in other parts of the city of New Orleans? With us today, Dillard University Professor of Urban Studies and Public Policy, Professor Robert Collins. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
So for people who look at that, who may not have been keeping up to date on this, what were the contributing factors for something like that to happen?
Well, the contributing factor is that it's a very unusual situation that in the city of New Orleans, under sea level, many years ago, they actually chose to build a tunnel under the area that is now the casino. And the area that collapsed was actually held up by wood. Most of it was concrete and steel, but that particular end of it happened to be held up by wood. And in the city of New Orleans, with all of our humidity, with all of our heat, wood underground has no chance. I mean, it simply has no chance. I'm actually surprised it hasn't collapsed before now.
You're surprised that they even did that?
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised they did it from a structural standpoint. From a structural engineering standpoint, I'm surprised that they did it. But I'm surprised that it hasn't collapsed before now. It was always a dangerous situation.
You thought it was a situation waiting to happen,
yes.
And it just happened to happen recently. So is this something that we can expect to see on other streets, and if so, why? Local streets?
Well, I don't think we'll see any more of this magnitude because this was a very unique situation where you had a tunnel underground. So I don't think we will see any more of this size. However, I believe we will see smaller sinkholes, and we've already seen several. We saw a couple last week. So I do think we'll see smaller sinkholes, and I think that's primarily because of the Sewage and Water Board and other infrastructure repair projects going on now, which are necessary. Let's be clear. The city has to. We've been having infrastructure issues since before Katrina, so the city has to do that. However, as they move water mains, as they move street areas, they're disturbing the natural land formations, and when that happens, you're going to have some collapses. So there will be more sinkholes, but they'll be smaller than the one on Canal Street.
Because you so often hear reports of people saying there's water just burbling, just coming up in front of my door and in front of my home, on my street. Every once in a while you hear of these things just popping up.
Well, in a lot of cases right now, we're sort of paying for the sins of the way that we dealt with water in the past. The city of New Orleans, our drainage system is based on pumping rainwater out of the natural water table and putting it into the lake. The problem with that is that it causes the organic matter to collapse, and when that happens, you get compaction and subsides, which just means sinking land. And so it's an unnatural process. So we're slowly reforming the way we live with water to build canals to put rainwater back into the water table, which will allow which will fight subsidence and allow the land to stay up.
But in the meantime, we do live below sea level. So what do you see in the weeks and months to come? For people, especially driving, we already deal with the potholes.
Well, be careful because there's going to be more of these. There will be driving issues, but again, the city can't stop doing this because this has to be done. So in the short term, we're just going to have to live with this. And also, I would just like to point out this is a national problem right now with aging infrastructure. For the past decade or so, Congress has been reducing its infrastructure allocation to cities, to urban areas, and because of that, we have bridges falling down, we have roads falling down, and so it's a real issue. We have infrastructure issues nationwide. All of the major engineering associations that have analyzed it have basically given U.S. infrastructure a D or an F, and so that's really an issue. It's an issue that really should be discussed in the presidential campaign right now because infrastructure has to be maintained.
Yeah,
yes.
It's scary that it could have been worse. Could have been someone's vehicle going
exactly.
into that.
Exactly. Someone could have been killed.
Yes. Thank you so much, Professor Collins. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Coming in.